Hi, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining. And welcome to our live panel, dialing in from wherever you guys are located. So I'm from Sydney, and I'm very grateful that we've got sun today. I don't know if you can see the rays of sunshine coming in through my window. We've had a lot of rain the past couple of days, so I'm really grateful for some vitamin D. Where are you guys all dialing in from? I can see you're all starting to come in. Pop into the chat where you're dialing in from. What city are you located in? Gavin, how's Melbourne looking over there?
Yeah, Melbourne's not too bad, Steph. We've got a bit of sunshine poking through, bit of grey clouds up there as well. But yeah, typical Melbourne day, but no rain so far. So yeah, can't complain. But it's a pleasure to be.
We do find it odd when Sydney-siders find it odd when Melbourne people have more sun than us. We get a little jealous. Marcus, where are you dialing from? Are you from headquarters at the moment?
Yeah, so in the PageProof headquarters in Auckland in New Zealand, and looking outside, it's all blue sky. So it's a good, as we say, every time you ask the temperature in Auckland, it's always 21. So
the standard response, 21 yes. degrees Celsius, right?
Winter and summer, not quite true, but we'll go with it.
And we also have Gemma and Julia from the PageProof team as well. Are you guys all from Auckland at the moment?
Yes, I'm Gemma and I'm in Auckland and enjoying the fabulous rays of sunshine. It's beautiful blue weather out there today.
And Claire, all the way from the Northern Hemisphere, I believe. What city are you dialing in from?
Yes, I'm from California, and it's beautiful. Actually, it was really rainy and cloudy last night, so thankful that the sun came out today. But it's I guess it's morning time for you, so it's 5 in the evening over here in California.
Ooh, you're just about to end your day after this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And where is everyone else dialing in from? So I see Melbourne, I see Sydney, Melbourne. If you guys have just joined, we're just talking about where we're dialing in from. We've got quite a few from all over the world in our panel today, which is awesome. It's the beauty of online events, having lots of different people come in. All right, while we're waiting for a few more people, I'll just go through some housekeeping. If you guys have any audio issues, just check your audio settings, your speaker, your headset. I do it all the time. I pop my AirPods on my ears and I don't have my Bluetooth connected properly. So just check if you've got your audio settings right. If you have any questions, pop them into the Q&A box. I do find it easier to track questions in the Q&A box just when I'm asking the panel. And today I'm giving a best question prize. So if you have the most interesting or the most juiciest or even the toughest question for our panel, I'll give away a Monday.com swag box. So a little bag of Monday.com goodies. And this session will be recorded. So I'll make this available on demand after in the next couple of days via email. All right, so welcome everyone to our online live event panel on the topic of accelerating marketing compliance in a hybrid world, brought to you by Monday.com and PageProof. And I'm Stephanie. I'm from the marketing team at Monday.com and super excited about this webinar because it's honestly a topic that I'm quite passionate about. You know, for many marketers, creative managers like Claire, like myself, a core part of our role is to create and design campaigns that appeal to our audience and essentially help them to make a decision. But it's important, and if not maybe critical, that we balance our creativity and our ideas with legal standards, with brand compliance guidelines. And this can be a real challenge. And, you know, let me know in the chat if you feel the same way. It can be challenging when we're trying to get campaigns out faster to market, and then we need to meet vendor timeframes and internal team timeframes, and then work with multiple stakeholders from content, from copy, from creative, from design, and Julia might agree as well. And in my case, we're working with global teams and juggling timeframes. So that's what this topic is all about today. It's how do we efficiently manage all those processes, all those approvals without the risk whilst bringing it to market faster. So I'm super excited, guys, to introduce you to our panel of experts who will discuss their insights and their tips to accelerating marketing compliance faster in today's hybrid world. So First, we've got Marcus. He's the founder and CTO of PageProof. We have Claire. Yep, give a wave. We have Claire, who's the creative manager for Nexus Brands Group, and Gavin Watson, who's the industry lead for Monday.com. And what they'll be discussing is how do we engage the always connected customer, but also elevating and personalizing experiences for them. Gavin will talk through what are the risks in marketing compliance and what are some of the tips that he's learned from experience and with many of our customers on how to accelerate that. And then Claire will share her story and her team's story on what they do at Nexus Brands Group to simplify their processes and approvals. So without further ado, Marcus, I'll hand it over to you to talk about the always connected customer.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Steph. Great introduction. So hi, everybody. I'm Marcus from PageProof, and I'm going to talk to you, just sort of frame up this whole thing around the hybrid experience. So the pandemic and the last couple of years have changed a few things in the world, and a lot of those circle around where the consumers that people are trying to reach are. So we went from being locked down in some cases, and now we've got people returning back to offices, some people still working from home, and we still need to, as brands, get in touch with those people with a similar sort of digital experience or a traditional experience. So what we've got is a hybrid experience that requires us to essentially deliver our brand messaging to these groups of people. And in fact, the hybrid experience is being delivered by, we had Deloitte do a survey. 75% of marketing executives said a hybrid experience is something that they will be moving forward with in the next 12 months. So what exactly does that mean? Well, we've got our traditional experiences being, billboards, mailers, events, PR, that kind of thing. We've got digital marketing, which is, social media, blogging, email marketing, paid advertising, that kind of stuff. And then we've got these new experiences, these hybrid experiences, which kind of merge a few new ideas and those other ideas together into one. So the idea is that you can look to connect with these people across multiple channels. Now, I think the best way for me to explain this is to give you a few examples, because there are been some really great examples out there in the world. So the first one I'm going to talk to you about is Pepsi and Netflix. So we all know Netflix, we can sit down, watch our favorite TV show. We can do an 8-hour binge of a TV show until we fall asleep into our popcorn. And you would have noticed not one ad in the entire experience. So when you're a brand like PepsiCo, how do you get in touch with those eyeballs and those people? How do you engage with them? And it's really interesting, when Netflix was getting towards the finale of Money Heist, which is one of their most popular ever series, they worked with Pepsi, and Pepsi actually created these limited edition gold cans and had packaging inspired by the series go out into the world. And the intention of that was that there was a grand virtual Money Heist fan party, and the entry to that party was a gold ticket, and the gold ticket happened to be the gold can. All right, so you could join that fan party. Interestingly, it was super successful. So here are the results: 3.3 million views on YouTube, 2.4 million views on MX Player, 3.4 million views on Twitter, all inside 24 hours. One of the most successful ever. So there we have two brands who collaborate to get this sort of hybrid experience out there. The second example is Adidas. So Adidas we're releasing some swimwear for women to be more inclusive. It's an inclusive swimwear brand. And the idea was that they looked around the world and found that in Dubai particularly, only 12% of women actually went swimming. So in order to bring this forward, they decided to put a swimming pool into a billboard and put it out in the desert, right? And then they connected that billboard experience back into a digital screen inside the city. So what we had was people swimming inside of this physical billboard, and it was being beamed back into a digital panel inside the city. So there was a true connection of a physical billboard to a digital experience. And it was a really, really amazing connection for that campaign. And then the third experience that I've got is with Kellogg's. So Kellogg's, they wanted their cereal packaging to be more inclusive. So they used a unique code, which is called a NaviLens tag. It's a little sort of colorful tag in the corner of the cereal box. And those with impaired vision can get their smartphone, use the NaviLens app, hover it over the code, and then the app reads out the nutrition information and also the recycling information and serving size and all that kind of information that everybody else enjoys on the packaging of those boxes. So that, again, we've got a physical box connected via a digital device to give us a nice connected experience. So that's just some examples of those hybrid experiences, and some good examples of what you can do when you connect the digital world with the physical world. So next slide. Yeah. So now what we're going to talk about is, it's not just about putting out a branded video or kind of a snappy media post. Consumers really want a human feel or a human touch to your messaging. So it's all about tangible storytelling to engage the customers and build a brand. And of course, we know this takes time to do, but people really love a personalized brand experience, something that feels like it's directed to them. And I think Gavin has a great example here of some localization. So Gavin, maybe you could talk a bit more about an example that you've got.
Yeah, I mean, there's quite a few examples that come to mind, Marcus, when you think about localization. I mean, obviously, McDonald's stands out. They've got to localize from a global perspective, even from a product offering perspective, which differs from market to market. But if I think about a local example where we actually work with the company, Canva comes to mind. So Canva's obviously done a lot of work, above line campaigns that they've rolled out. They're rolling those out globally. But the thing I really like about what Canva's done is they've made sure that the tagline and the messaging is consistent, no matter what market it's going into. But then what they've actually done is they've adjusted the content for the feel and the look of the market, be it the graphics that they use or even the talent that they use. So they've been really, I think, sensible and smart in the way that they've ensured brand consistency, no matter what channel they've gone into. The messaging's the same, but they've actually tailored the content to make sure that it's relevant for the market and also sensitive to the market that they're actually going into. So for me, that's probably a big standout at the moment.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Yeah, absolutely. I think another thing that I've also been looking at is things like podcasts and audio, sort of visual formats. They're really, really important. They thrive, but what's changed slightly is where these people are. So previously we had people spending an hour, driving to work, and that's where they consume their podcasts. And today there are some people who never commute to work. They're sitting at home working. So they might, now consume their podcasts or watch their formats or do whatever they're doing in a slightly different setting, different timings, so there's a whole lot to consider about those kinds of formats as well, which I thought I'd just bring to light. Now, 360 campaigns, super essential. And if you're in Sydney and Melbourne right now, you've probably seen the Monday.com campaigns on the billboards and like. So Gavin, do you just want to give us a bit of a breakdown or about your campaigns that you're doing at the moment?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's an interesting one, Marcus. I mean, Stephanie and myself have been heavily involved in this from a global perspective. And again, it plays to two different things here, obviously taking into account local market needs. So when we actually looked at the placements, so it wasn't just a question of, what billboards, what trams, what bus shelters were available. It was actually digging into that a lot deeper to understand the demographics, to understand the target customers, to understand that those placements were going to resonate with the demographics we wanted to get to and also support the messaging. But that wasn't the only component. You know, behind that campaign's been, we recently attended a seminar, an event in Melbourne that was also tied into that campaign. But then all of the other attributes and the other channels that that's played out into has been vitally important. I mean, I think back, you know, 5 or 6 years ago when you put together the 360 campaign, the amount of channels that you had to deal with was probably half of what you're dealing with today. I mean, you just mentioned podcasts. You know, so I think a 360 campaign in terms of, you know, what does that mean? There are so many different touch points that come into that in today's day and age, and that's only going to increase. And I think for me, and what Monday's been really focused on is making sure that the messaging is consistent, making sure that the brand is represented in the correct way, no matter what channel it's gone into. And I think being able to coordinate and do that is really important. And at the same time, also having a trail. So being able to go back and say, okay, so for this particular channel that we put that into, what was the process we went through to decide on that, execute it and put it into the market? How can we actually analyze that and look at, you know, potentially what we could either reuse for future campaigns or maybe tweak and adjust? So for me, and what I'm seeing with 360 campaigns, it's just, you know, the amount of channels you have to deal with is actually growing exponentially.
Yeah, I agree. It's a lot, and I think interestingly there's a whole lot of tools that are being used to actually execute and put together the media for those campaigns. So you've got the planning tools that you need to use to actually put that together, like Monday, and then you've got the actual tools that produce the assets like Canva, the Adobe Creative Cloud tools. And if you're into, you know, design, there's Figma and Sketch and InVision and those kind of tools as well. And of course, bringing in email campaigns, the whole lot. There's a lot to do. And what's really, really interesting is there's been some interesting research that shows that, you know, if you present a consistency of your brand across all your platforms, you can increase your revenue up to 23%. By giving that consistent message out through all of those different platforms. It's a very important part of it. And I think sending a uniform message about your brand identity and its core values, you're likely to benefit from that kind of uplift. So I think that's a very important thing. So I think, Gavin, we will pass over to you now to talk about the risk of marketing compliance, you know, controlling that. So I'll hand over to you.
No worries. Thanks, Marcus. Yeah, really interesting touch point here. You know, my experience having worked within agencies and brands, you know, marketing compliance often was looked on as almost like a dirty subject, that thing that you knew you had to focus on, but it wasn't really nice and cool and funky and part of the creative process. But in my time, I actually saw the ramifications from it. I saw large brands get fined for putting content into market that hadn't gone through the correct compliance process in terms of terms and conditions for the offers. I actually saw incorrect products advertised out there in the market where there wasn't an audit trail to show who had actually approved that. So the ramification was actually back on the seller of that particular product. And I actually saw content get used that had usage rights for it that had expired, and the copyright holder was then able to actually come back to the company that was reusing that content to seek additional monetary rewards for that being reused. So while it's not, you know, a cool and, you know, nice subject that people like to touch on, it definitely is something that does need rigor and thought behind it. Number one, to mitigate risk, but number two, to make sure that content you're putting into market and your brand is being represented in the right way. So if we just quickly want to have a look at, you know, some of the, I guess, the key statistics that we see out there. So, you know, a recent study that was done showed that 78% of marketing teams said their work was subject to at least one type of compliance requirement. 33% of those saw an increase in the company's revenue when a brand is consistently represented. And I think the big one for me is 69% of firms are expecting regulators to propose even more rules. So really from that, you know, what are the challenges facing marketing compliance review? I guess a real question I kind of take a step back and look at is, what is stopping marketing leaders from automating and improving marketing compliance reviews? From my, understanding of what I've seen, here are some of the top challenges that I've found. The compliance and brand review process is usually still managed through methods that aren't easily traceable. So you often still see that in email, in Google Docs, in hard copy printouts. I mean, amazingly, we were just having a chat before this session, and Gemma actually mentioned that someone was still faxing through hand-drawn markups. I thought only lawyers and the legal fraternity use fax machines. I was blown away to hear that. And I've got to say, I was recently on site with a large brand, and there were hand-drawn markups that were happening. So, it's not that anyone's to blame for that. It's just by virtue of how people have been used to working. But, that there are better ways to do that, which we'll talk about. I think the other thing as well is just the explosion of assets, like I talked about earlier, the 360 campaigns. There are so many assets and so many channels that those assets are going into. The sheer volume of those assets and stuff that needs to be approved is just mind-boggling. Again, if I look at the retail channel alone, if you're talking about products and offers and BAU work and campaign work, the actual sheer volume is just so large that trying to do that manually just doesn't work. It's leaving rooms for errors. And I also think with that collaboration, there's so many touch points now for collaboration where you've got hybrid working models, you've got companies that are bringing stuff in-house or companies that are working with agencies. There's multiple different agencies. Again, I was talking with a brand recently that had 17 different agencies on the roster. So if you're running a campaign and you've got 17 different touch points that are involved in that campaign, if there's not some sort of automated process around who's approving what's going to market when, I just see it as, a huge headache and open for error. And, I just think there's lots more regulations coming around things. So, as industries evolve, if I think about, influencers, for example, so influencers and how they're used in channels, you just have to be so careful that the content that they are standing behind on your behalf, how are you regulating that? How are you monitoring that? Because at the end of the day, yes, you want to use an influencer to expand out into their channel of influence, but at the same time, you want to be able to protect your brand and make sure that the way your brand is being represented is correct. So really, if I think about it, it really boils down into four key areas. While it sounds simple, it does take time. And, again, from my experience, you do need systems and you do need process behind that. Really, it comes down to having one central source of truth. A lot of the leaders that I work with from brand and marketing perspective are like, I want a dashboard. I just need to be able to see in real time what is going on across all of our organization. I don't want to be digging into reports. I don't want to be digging into different areas of a system. Just give me a dashboard that gives me a high level view, and then I can drill into it from there. And again, if that's something that you can't have at your disposal, again, with the explosion of content and assets, I just don't know how some of these teams are able to do what they need to do and do it in a compliant manner. And with that, the biggest thing that you're going to hear and see here is leveraging digital tools. Digital tools are here. They've been in the market for quite some time, but being able to leverage those to get accurate proofing and feedback is vitally important. I was having a conversation yesterday with a large FMCG client that does a lot of packaging, and they were telling me about the risk for them if a bit of content goes into the manufacturing process. So for example, they've got a large carton or box that's going to be manufactured. If the barcode's slightly wrong, or a T or a trademark is not on that bit of packaging and hasn't been checked and approved, if that goes into the manufacturing process and 1 million units of that get created, and then they realize, oh, the trademark's not on there or the trademark's incorrect, the ramifications are huge in terms of cost, wastage, so many different things. So it was really interesting to talk through them, the process that they go through currently that is somewhat manual, and hear them actually say, oh, wow, there is a better way. How do we get this implemented into our business? The other really key thing is ensuring you've got an audit trail. Again, a lot of the work that I've done in the retail channel, the ACCC requires you to keep an audit trail. So you have to have an audit trail. I think it used to be 7 years, it's now about 5 years. So any bit of content that goes into the market, you have to be able to go back 5 years in history to show how that was approved and what the process was that you went through. So having an audit trail that you've got at your disposal and being able to go back in time, vitally important. And I think the last key point is being able to automate workflows. You know, again, explosion of assets, different teams, disparate teams. If you're manually having to do things, that's not creating efficiencies for you. So being able to leverage tech in the right way and automating a lot of processes and tasks that would usually be done in a manual way is vitally important. So from there, I think what I'd like to do is actually, you know, look at now how we do work with PageProof. You know, what does this really mean in the real world? Well, I'm pleased to say that the integration that Monday has with PageProof is a deep integration. It's not just two products working side by side. It really is an integration whereby workflows go hand in hand, be it a task comes through Monday, it then goes into approval process with PageProof. You know, it really is a deep partnership. It's a robust solution. We've got many different customers that we're working with out in the market and globally. But with that, you know, I think I'd like to hand over to Marcus to talk in a bit more detail about, you know, the work that we are doing together.
Yeah, thanks, Kevin. Yeah, absolutely. So it's been something that we've been working on for quite a long time now, which is how do we deeply integrate these two solutions together? So rather than just do a connect, which is, you know, is something that you can do, we decided that, hey, let's actually have PageProof inside of Monday, so it can actually inform some of that information on dashboards and all those different aspects of Monday as well. Interestingly, so just to give a little background on what PageProof does, so we are a review and approval platform designed to gather feedback on work, and we do that for not only traditional formats like PDF and Photoshop and, you know, all those sorts of video and things. We also cover all the digital formats as well. So if you are working in Figma, you're working with email marketing or any of those kinds of media, we support the proofing of all of that. So you truly can proof it all through PageProof. And it even gets down to, you know, we have special tools for packaging design, because packaging has come up and it's a really important one. We have color separation previews inside of PageProof, so you can check that you haven't got a rogue spot color showing up in your packaging. And there's a whole lot of other features in there for your email campaigns and things as well. So that's the introduction to what we do. Diving in a bit deeper into what it looks like from a product point of view, we really have inside of Monday, we've got a number of views and panels and dashboard items that you can add to your Monday boards. So you can be working away on Monday and think, we need to add some, you know, review and approval and collaboration to the way we're using Monday right now. So you can bring those features from PageProof into Monday and then use those out of your Monday boards. And it really does let you fly through your approvals on autopilot. It's absolutely brilliant for that. So you can create proofs directly from inside of Monday, send them out to your reviewers. They can leave feedback on the work. They put together to-do lists that come back that again informs Monday, so we can see that there's work that needs to be done. You can then assign that work to a design team. They can then pick it up from there. So all the Monday notifications and everything are all informing that information around, which is absolutely brilliant. And everything stays together. So you can see there's a central source of the truth that's giving you all the information you need. And of course, you can automate all this. And it's touching on Gavin's point there, when you've got a high velocity of assets that you need to be getting through, using Monday to plan it and get everything the way you need it. There's also automations inside of Monday, which connect through to PageProof and trigger both ways. Really, really great. So you can say, when this happens in PageProof, do this in Monday, and et cetera, et cetera. So some really great ways of automating your review and approvals as well. Now, in addition to that, there is a very deep integration from PageProof into the Adobe Creative Cloud. And this is an absolute gem of a feature which enables you to actually bring that markup that you see inside PageProof, and it overlays your artwork. So if one of your reviewers has said, hey, take this off here and move it over here, that markup actually shows up laid over the top of your artwork. And there's a little checkbox inside of the Adobe integration where you can say, this is done, this is done, this is done. So as a designer, you can spend all your life sitting inside of your Adobe Creative Tools, marking off changes on proofs, sending out new proofs, and again, informing Monday as well. So it just means that you have a full suite of tools that all work together. Monday for all of the planning and orchestrating all of your work, got PageProof gathering all the feedback and getting all the review and approvals, and then it goes through into the Adobe Creative Cloud where your designers can put their work together and get it back out. So I think that just gives you a good sort of update or where we're up to with the integration between Monday and PageProof. So Kevin, sorry, back to Steph. Steph, I think we're going to introduce and bring Claire into the conversation right now. So I'll hand over to Claire now to bring that through.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. Thanks, Marcus. I'm really honored to be speaking with all of you today. Everything that Marcus is saying, I love both of these platforms, and I'm doing pretty much what you've mentioned. So I'm really excited to share a little bit of what I am actually doing. But first, a little bit about myself. I've been working at Nexus Brands Group for about 2 years now. And what we are is a global multi-brand, multi-channel platform company that serve professionals and enthusiast communities and industries. Our focus is in niche markets serving the tattoo, pet, and beauty professionals and its customers. I know that totally sounds like an odd mix, but it's really unique, and it's a lot. It's been a lot of fun working in these different industries. So I'm based in our headquarters in California, but our brands are throughout the United States and in the UK. As a creative manager, I oversee the creative department and the design needs for our brands. I work directly with the marketing departments and our brand leaders. And one of the biggest responsibilities I had when I started was to establish the processes and integrate our brands into our workflows. Currently, we have, I think, a little over 15 brands now. So as you can imagine, having these multiple brands add a huge complexity to any project flow. And that's how I've used Monday and PageProof. They've helped me in managing multiple stakeholders from all the different brands and a wide range of creative file types. So Monday was already adopted when I came on board. I used another project management platform at my last 2 jobs, and it wasn't as easy and intuitive to use as Monday. Plus, being a creative person and I have a design background, I love how visual it is, and it's so easy to use. I discovered too at Nexus that the other departments were using it. So all the teams, from the product development team to the digital marketing team, were using it in their way, where it helped them with their workflows. At the end of the day, it was helping just keep all of us organized. For my team specifically, which included e-commerce, digital marketing, creative, we use Monday as the intake for all of our requests through the form feature. So this was everything and anything from a website update or a product launch campaign. And then from there, we would track all of our tasks and projects for each of the brands through our brand boards. I love the flexibility and customization that we're able to do with all of the different column options. As Marcus mentioned, the cool feature of the dashboards we use. We give a high level view to our stakeholders of all of it, depending on what the department is, but for us particularly, we have our project statuses, deadlines, and I myself like having a dashboard of the workloads of my designers. So I can see, who's overloaded, who can I pass and move projects onto. And then most recently, I created a photo shoot calendar as part of a dashboard that linked all of the photo and video requests from all the different brands in one view, so I can quickly see at a glance what we have going on for the months to come, because I only have one photographer. And lastly, Monday also helps us with the reporting. We're able to use the dashboard metrics to create custom reports. At year end, I was tasked to show how much creative support I provided in 2021 for each of the divisions, and I was able to do that using the chart tool. What Nexus didn't have at the time I started was an efficient proofing process. What they did, because they were a smaller team, was approve via emails or commenting in Monday. And yes, I also heard that they were doing printed proofs, marking it up and sending it back. I was blown away. This is such a red flag to me. So I needed to find a way to manage all those multiple stakeholders from the different brands and then all of the assets that we create. And we literally do everything from emails, the web banners, catalogs, videos, and just also a handful of PDFs and images. When I did research and learned about PageProof, as cheesy as it sounds, but it was really love at first sight. PageProof helped me in all the aspects of marketing compliance because it literally was easy to use. It had the robust workflows, as Gavin mentioned, and the cool Adobe add-ons that Marcus mentioned. The simplicity for reviewing proofs is key, especially for everyone. I have approvers who are always on their phones, not necessarily on a desktop, so it's easy for them to mark up proofs on their mobile device. They've even watched the videos that I'll post for review and approvals, and emails, and pretty much a lot of different types of media. And then for our review approval process, the robust workflows really mean that I do get the approvals at the right times. I can control in PageProof who's invited to the proof and when. And it also helped determine accountability for each of the proofs and getting the sign-offs that I need along the way. Ideally, we aim for no mistakes. So I love the smart compare feature for version checking to make sure that all of the changes have been made and nothing was moved or edited that it shouldn't have. And the favorite feature that I have are the Adobe add-on extensions, where, as Marcus described, we can go into Illustrator, Design, or Photoshop, see what the changes were, make the changes, check them off, which I like, because then I'll check off and I'll have the green little mark that we did that change. And then I can spit it back into PageProof from the Adobe apps. All of these features really allow us to work very efficiently. So I was really happy to have both of these platforms, Monday and PageProof. And at the time I signed on to purchase PageProof, my rep told me that they were working on an integration with Monday.com, and I was stoked when it finally happened and was working. With both of them together, it's even easier to track the statuses of our proofs. I have it so that when our projects are uploaded into PageProof, it will automatically update my Monday status column, as you mentioned, Marcus, where it'll say pending approval. And then once a new proof has been updated or changed, it'll automatically change my Monday task again, or my Monday statuses. At my weekly check-ins with my team, if I need to dig into specific projects, I can quickly look up the proofs from Monday through a widget, or the other way around, where if I'm in PageProof, I can go directly to a Monday task if it's linked or referenced to that proof. Our situation was pretty much like everyone else during the pandemic. We were working remotely, then we changed to a hybrid situation, and as businesses started to pick up and we were going back to normal, we needed an easy way to work effectively with all of our brands and all the different locations. And Monday and PageProof did that for us. The integration of both of these systems sped up our workflow almost 40%. Like, it really helped our creative process and our approval process. And as we continue to grow, it's going to be more important to keep us working efficiently and staying on brand, making sure we meet all of our brands' needs and assets. Thank you. I'll hand it back over to Steph.
Thank you, Claire. That's amazing. I think it's incredible that you're working with over 17 brands and managing all those different teams for all the different products and solutions and services that you bring to market. It's incredible. Like I said earlier in my introduction, I know how challenging it is working with so many different stakeholders, and it's amazing that you've used Monday and PageProof and Adobe to help your team, like you said, feel more in control and have zero mistakes, which is like an awesome KPI to work towards. But yeah, and I also loved how you spoke about your use of dashboards. Someone was talking about in the chat earlier and how, you know, like for me personally, dashboards and having it in real time, it just saves me from burning the midnight oil. I don't have to work overnight to get a report in a presentation pack done because of a last minute update that senior management may have asked. So incredible that you're using dashboards as well in your quarterly reviews, I think you said, or quarterly.
Yeah, we do a lot of weekly reviews just internally, so I can see the workload of what everyone's working on, but our quarterly reviews, our digital and e-com team also pull metrics from, and then I use it annually to do kind of a summary report of what's been done. But there has been moments where, as you mentioned, like I needed to provide an update of something. So thankfully I created the widget or the dashboard for it. I was able to just pull it up, take a screenshot, add that, or send that over to them so they can put it on their presentation.
Yeah, super easy. Real-time dashboards saved my life. So I might ask Marcus and Gavin to come back as well and pop themselves off mute, because there have been a few questions that have come in. And guys, remember, I am giving away a best question prize, so pop your questions in the Q&A chat. So James has asked a question. This was based, it was a lot earlier on when you were talking about the billboard campaigns, Gavin. So he's asked, he's actually mentioned, I can't drive in or out of the city without seeing a Monday billboard. Incredible work. But he's wondering how the experience of setting it all up was, and are you able to gauge exactly how many clientele have been drawn out for them alone? Gavin, if you want to start, and I might also add my additional comments because I've also worked on this campaign.
Yeah, no, definitely. Great question. Thanks for that, James. And yeah, we do appreciate obviously you saying that and giving that feedback. I think really how did it start and how did we plan it out? So it was a global initiative. So obviously from our head office out of Tel Aviv, the decision was made that we were going to do this on a global basis. Like I said earlier, really what we then did was we looked at the key markets where we obviously wanted to go and put that campaign into market, and then really analyze the demographics. I mean, we went down to things like analyzing the train routes. So, you know, in terms of users, what route would they take, the key influx of traffic in and out of the city, the key bus stops where we had demographics that we were trying to target. So we put a lot of research into where we were going to put the placements, from that perspective. I guess in terms of how we're measuring it, Steph can probably talk to that in a bit more detail, but what we're already seeing is that the influx of inquiries that have come since launching that campaign have dramatically increased. A lot of the conversations that we're having now, either with existing accounts or with new accounts, they're referencing it. So I think, again, we talked about branding and brand perspective. It's been extremely beneficial for that. I know with a lot of the companies that I'm talking with where we're looking to expand the footprint in there, they all mention it. It's coming up, even to the point that 3 of them in a meeting recently just hopped off a tram and said, well, hang on, Monday was on the tram. You could have met me on the tram and talked to me about Monday there. So I think, yeah, definitely a lot of positives from it. But Steph, I might hand back to you to give a bit more insight.
Yeah, and I think in terms of experience, this is actually Monday's first out-of-home campaign in Australia. So yeah, it's like a big baby for us, a big project. And in terms of understanding demographics, we did surveys in the cities that we wanted to participate in. So in Sydney and Melbourne, understanding how they travel to work, because we wanted to be in that mindset of the audience of, on their way to work, or they were in that work mindset. So that's why, and that's kind of how we decided where to position a lot of our different ads. And then in terms of measurement, it's across multiple different channels. So the uplift in website views, the uplift in, like Gavin said, signups, the uplift in inquiries, and then also the uplift in social interaction. And we also measure the brand through brand scoring. So we work with an external provider who did a survey on our brand prior to the campaign, and we'll do another one post the campaign as well. And we're also working a lot with our internal teams on raising awareness organically as well. So taking photos with the billboard campaigns. And it's funny because we also did an event in Melbourne, which Gavin said earlier, and we had a billboard campaign right at the luggage collection. So we got out our Monday branded suitcases, took photos in front of the billboard with our Monday branded suitcases. So just even things like that to kind of help and make it a true 360 campaign. So I hope that answers your question, James. There was another one that came through in the chat from Siki. Let me just scroll up. So Siki asks, any recommendations for small marketing agencies? We produce lots of content and it's been a lot just emailing everything. So this is a really interesting question. Who might want to take that one on first? Maybe Marcus, you might want to attempt this one first.
Yeah, recommendations wise there. So I think, interestingly, I think it starts with the planning and making sure that you're using the tools to actually plan out what it is that you're going to be executing. So if you're producing a lot of content and you want to be able to say, hey, where's this content going? Who's going to be doing it, etc. I think putting that into something like Monday really is helpful. So things like, people I've seen structure their Monday boards in so many different ways by creating like an item for a particular campaign and then creating sub items for each piece of content for that campaign. Really is a great way of planning it and then assigning it to different designers and teams. But then the advantage of that is that you can then, from that sub item, PageProof has sub item support with Monday.com, you can attach proofs to each one of those sub items. And what happens there is that you can send your proofs directly from inside of Monday, from inside of the sub item. That goes out to be reviewed, gets its feedback, and then that sub item gets an approval. Bang, it's shown up right there. So you can, again, when you have a summary at item level, showing using the status column to give you that colored bar, you can see how far through all the sub items are for their approvals, and what's in proofing, what has a to-do list. So I think talking with the team about how to structure your boards is quite important. And then from there, you literally can take a PDF or a video or whatever it is, drop it in, send it out for review with that particular sub item in the campaign. And it helps a lot with that high velocity and with a lot of content that you might be producing. So you can sort of make sure that you cover all that off in one go.
And I think just to quickly touch on what Marcus said there, and I think Claire touched on it as well. I mean, a lot of the agencies we work with and are talking with, the starting point's usually to document out your processes. So, we use Miro a lot to actually map out what are your processes, or it could be bullet points. So as Claire talked about, brief comes in, who does that brief go to? Then if that brief's being trafficked, what are the deliverables that come from that? And then off that, like you said, all the emails are going out to either get feedback. When would PageProof, so Monday could handle the first part, when would PageProof make sense? If you've clearly documented that within your business, how it currently works, where you believe it can be improved, that's probably the quickest and most effective way to get immediate impact. We call it the as is and the to be process. Here's how you currently work. Here's how it can be automated with Monday and PageProof. A lot of the small and medium-sized agencies, that's where we work with them to get immediate impact by putting in place those to-be processes. So it can't underplay the power of actually mapping out how you currently work and what it could look like going forward to get those efficiencies.
And Claire, I remember you mentioned that before you went on the journey with Monday and PageProof, you were saying that you guys did all your approvals via email, and probably maybe back in the days when we were in the office a lot more, over the shoulder, maybe Slack, maybe Teams. Like, how are you guys doing all of that now? Like, what's changed? Has it become a lot easier to track?
They get in trouble if they Slack. They get in trouble if they message. So they hear it from me if they do that. But it is part of our process. So yes, they will post the proof. Notifications are people are notified, and then changes are made and approvals are there. There's no more unless there's an issue and they can't log on and they really need to get me feedback, and they'll just take a picture of it and mark it up. That's obviously possible, but for the most part they're not allowed to do anything other than post it on PageProof.
That's really good to drive though. And I also remember you mentioned that people were doing approvals on the go on their mobile, which I think like is super important. Like for me, for someone who travels like an hour to work, if I'm able to do approvals and reviews on my mobile, that makes it so much handy. Like I can do a lot of things whilst I'm on the way to work. So how are they doing that?
So our founder, like and it's a lot of the execs are always on the go. It's primarily them or the higher level people, but Billy is one of them. He will comment and view and mark up literally on his phone. Like it's great. I myself, if I need to review and improve, I love it because like on your phone, you can do, on my screen, I can't do the zooming in. I have to use the button, but on my phone, I can literally zoom in, turn it around, mark it up, especially the packaging files, right? You can't view, every time you have a packaging proof, you have to like rotate it, but it's cool because I can literally just rotate it on my phone and just make notes and changes or sign off there.
That's handy.
Yeah, we added, I must say, to extend to that. So we put a bit of effort into the mobile experience and also the tablet experience. So if you are on an iPad, you can pinch to zoom, pinch to rotate. And if you've got an Apple Pencil, you can use that to do the markups, which is something that we sort of have as a little bit of a trick for those people to discover if they are an Apple Pencil user.
The zoom in function is something handy for me, who's a glasses and contact wearing person. So I love that feature. Another question has come in from Kevin. I found over the pandemic period, it's been difficult to find extra budget for campaigns. Is there a feature that would effectively show the collective ROI and how to communicate that at a higher level? Kevin, I might pass that one to you.
Yeah, sure. No, good question, Kevin. I mean, there's a number of ways that you can do that. So within Monday, you can obviously track the cost to produce the campaign. Obviously, as tasks go through and time can get managed, so you're able to track obviously the cost of producing the campaign. But at the same time, we've also got native integrations with the likes of Facebook, SEMrush, Hootsuite, Google Analytics, where you can actually bring back into Monday boards and a dashboard real-time analytics around how that campaign's performing once it's in market. So what I'm finding is that, yeah, a lot of people in a similar situation of what you're saying are using the power of those integrations. And like Claire said, rolling that up into a dashboard, that dashboard then gives that high-level view that can get shared around to show what's it cost us to produce the content that's gone to market, how is that performing? And, in an ideal world, it's all performing well and the numbers are aligning for you well. You can actually then show, obviously campaigns performing extremely well. It's cost me X amount to produce it. If I could actually allocate some more budget to produce some more, here's the type of output results I'm going to get. So again, it really comes down into taking the data and putting it into a easy way to digest, and then obviously getting the results from there. But can't speak enough about having those integrations there within Monday to get that real-time data coming through.
Awesome. Any other comments from the panel on that? Nope.
I must admit, when Gavin showed me the Facebook, I think there was something that was quite interesting, as I didn't realize, and this is reinforcing what Gavin just said. When I saw the Facebook integration where you've worked through a Facebook campaign, you've done all this work, and then the Facebook data can actually connect in against that, and you can see the results. It's a full circle, which is absolutely brilliant. So I think just adding to what Gavin said, reinforcing that, it's definitely a good way it's almost like a modern way of managing the way that everything works. Live data coming in for the work that you've done.
Yeah, that's actually true. Like, I mean, from a B2B marketing perspective, where I track MQLs, SQLs, ops and wins, I'm able to easily track that through dashboards and integrating that with our CRM, Salesforce. So it's great to have that integration and also be able to see it all within a dashboard. And I know that we're over time, but I'll take one more question. There is quite a few. Last one from James. And James, I think because you've asked the most questions, I'm going to give you the prize. Your questions are very juicy and you've asked quite a few. So James asks, we are a B2B business, but considering an online B2C campaign to help build our brand awareness. Do you know of any instances where this has been effective, maybe with previous clients that you guys have worked with? And do you think it's a good method? Who wants to take that on?
I mean, it's a really interesting question. I'm just trying to think of, I mean, there definitely are brands where we've worked with them and they have done that. I guess the first question I'd have is what is the goal? What is the motive? If you're a B2B brand and that's how you're selling effectively, that's your channel. If you want to create consumer awareness, is that to leverage obviously what those B2B clients you're working with are going to be doing? Is it a product? Is it a service? Yeah, I guess it's a deeper question I'd want to ask to understand how to answer it. But in short, definitely we do work with a lot of brands where, you know, they're breaking out. And I even think of, you know, brands like The Iconic, for example. So they traditionally were e-commerce online. They've now gone with, you know, a broad base external campaign. So not about opening up a different channel, but exposing their brand in a lot broader format rather than just online. They've gone with a whole above line campaign. And I remember a lot of the metrics that were being put around that and a lot of the discovery that was going into that. So yeah, I mean, short answer is yes, we have done it. Longer answer is really trying to understand what the motive is behind it. And, you know, I guess the measurement you want to be able to get from it as well. Marcus, I can see you probably got something else to add.
Oh no, I'm just thinking it's the same. I always, when I look at these sorts of questions, I'm looking at how do you connect the dots? And what I mean by that is you're a B2B and then there's a B2C. By promoting to the B2C, how are you connecting the dots back to you from that campaign is probably the most simplistic way that I would challenge you, I guess, on that is, you know, show me how that promotion would flow back through. So yeah, it's probably a good. Oh, you put some information into the chat, which is good. So we help businesses make a specific experience better for their clients. Okay, so you're thinking of targeting their clients to bring up. Okay, yeah. So that's an interesting one where essentially you're marketing to your clients' clients, which is always a very challenging thing. We talk about that quite a lot and have done with lots of different businesses. So when you're marketing to your clients' clients and bringing them to your clients, that's a very interesting one. I think there is some value in that, getting your name out there, but not for the not so that you're known to the end customer. It's so that they can mention your name, I guess, to those to your direct customers, if that's what you're looking to do. Yeah, I don't have a concrete answer for that, but yeah, joining the dots like you've just done, I think that there might be some benefit in that.
Yeah, and I mean, with that, James, be more than happy to have a chat offline. I mean, it's a really, really interesting point. I can think of a couple of examples. So yeah, more than happy to have a chat with you offline. You can follow that up.
And that's a great segue into our final slide, which is if you guys did want to find out more or want to have a chat with us, we'd love to do a workflow mapping session with you guys and help you guys connect those dots, exactly what Marcus just called out. So you can either fill in the form, which, thank you, Julia, has just popped into the chat, or fill in the QR code, which leads to one of our forms as well. But thank you guys. I hope you have found it very insightful. I know I did. I loved all the conversation and the insights and the tips from Marcus, Gavin and Claire today. And thank you, Gemma. And thank you, Julia, for also joining. I hope you all have a lovely sunny day, which most of everyone has said the weather has been in wherever you're from. So thank you. And I'll send out the recording very soon. And James, I'll reach out to you personally and send over your monday.com swag. Have a good day, everyone. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.